Hello, everyone, and welcome to Long COVID Fatigue 101. I am so excited that you're here. I am Carrie Bailey, your functional nutritionist, and I help people with long COVID and mystery symptoms finally start to heal, especially when brain fog and fatigue and that sense of I am just not myself will not go away. So if you're new, if you're popping on, hit it, leave me a comment about where you're watching from. And before we really dive into today's topic, I want to share a little bit about my own story because I know how fatigue feels. I've struggled with fatigue most of my life. So I'm right there in there with you. So my fatigue started when I was just a kid. But back then, I didn't realize that I didn't really realize that it was fatigue because I was living on caffeine, Mountain Dew, and chocolate and running on adrenaline. I thought I had energy, but it wasn't real energy. It was just this constant stimulation. And it wasn't until college when I really needed these like 24-ounce coffees just to stay focused and stay awake in class that I started to wonder, like, what is going on? And even after college, and I was living in the corporate world, I was still pushing through. But after lunch, I would just crash. Like I could not keep my eyes open in meetings, kind of crash. And sometimes I would sneak down to my car and I would take a nap. And while I was trying to be healthy, changing my food, taking new supplements, nothing really clicked, but underneath all of it, I had this constant curiosity like, why is this happening? What am I missing? So eventually, I found the answers. I started supporting my body with the right supplements like B vitamins and magnesium and zinc. And it was a huge turning point for me. And I'd already been shifting my food for years, but removing gluten and dairy was massive, and studying functional nutrition helped me finally connect the dots between what I was feeling and what was actually happening in my body. And now I help people just like you do the same because COVID fatigue is real and it's very similar to what I had, which was chronic fatigue. And it's not just in your head, it's not laziness or aging or needing more willpower. It's your body asking for support. So today, I'm going to break down what's actually going on in your body when you're dealing with this kind of deep fatigue that that just steps you where you cannot feel any better. And if you haven't already grabbed my free gift, my long COVID recovery guide, it's packed with the foundational steps that I walk my clients through to start rebuilding their energy. So you can grab it. It should be a link in the description below. And I was trying to get it on the chat. I don't know if I ever got it there. I'll be sticking around at the end for some Q&A. So if there's anything that I bring up that brings up questions for you, drop them in the chat and we'll catch them at the end, okay? And if you're enjoying my lives and you want to support my work, super chats are a great way to do that. And you also get priority for your questions. All right, let's start here. Not all fatigue is the same, right? And fatigue is not created equal. The kind of fatigue that people are experiencing with after COVID is different. It's not just tired, it's heavy, it's unrelenting, and it doesn't improve with sleep or rest. It's a neurological fatigue, it's an immune system fatigue, and it's not in your head. It's in your nervous system, your liver, and your immune system, all in this kind of viral hangover that just won't clear. So, some of the symptoms you might be experiencing along with this fatigue is heaviness in your limbs, like you're walking around with sandbags, or brain fog. You just can't clear it and think clearly. You might crash after simple activities or just doing an email. You might have this emotional sensitivity or fragility, like you just cry at the drop of a hat. You might have buzzing, tingling, or sensitivity in your body, and you might have trouble regulating your temperature or your heart rate. Now, most people think that they're tired because they're not sleeping enough, or that they need more protein, or that their iron is low. And yes, those things can contribute, but long COVID is deeper. It's about your body still fighting something it cannot quite clear. Usually, a combination of viral debris and liver burden, as well as nervous system dysregulation. And that's what I focus on in my work. We look at the liver, the vagus nerve, the adrenal system, but in a way that's gentle and supportive, not aggressive. So let's start with the liver sluggishness, or your liver holding on to these viral byproducts that it can't get rid of. So your liver is like a sponge. It's been soaking up too much for too long, and it's holding on to viral waste, chemicals, byproducts, and stress hormones. And when it gets full, it can't filter efficiently. So then you start feeling the fatigue and the brain fog and the skin issues and the sleep problems. And it's not because your liver is failing, it's because it's overwhelmed. So your liver isn't the cause of your symptoms, it's just bogged down and it's trying to protect you. It's trying to do the best it can. And that's why lightening the load, especially by removing high fat foods and supporting with gentle detoxification, can make such a huge difference. So the other area is your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are on overdrive and your nervous system cannot regulate itself. So imagine that your body is running on backup power and your adrenal glands are giving you just enough energy to function, but it's not sustainable. It's like being chased by a bear all day, every day, and your nervous system cannot reset. So when it's fueled by fear chemicals and stress hormones. So you're not lazy, you're not broken. Your body is trying to survive with what it has. And the solution isn't to push harder, it's to support your adrenals with rest, nourishment, and the right kind of fuel. So, the other system that's involved in all of this process is your immune system. And it's very sensitive to the point that it becomes sort of hyper reactive. And so, when you're dealing with food reactions and skin flares and weird symptoms that pop up for seemingly no reason, it's because your immune system is malfunctioning. Your immune system is still trying to fight off what the virus left behind. It's trying to protect you. And when your liver is sluggish, those toxins have nowhere to go. So they hang around and they create more inflammation. So your immune system is just always on. And this is one of the biggest myths out there, is that your immune system is the problem, and it's not. The virus and the toxins it leaves behind, that's the real issue. And when we start supporting your liver and calming your nervous system, we help your immune system do its job more efficiently without tipping into reactivity. Now, the fourth area of issue for people with this long COVID fatigue is that they have a lot more reactions to both food and supplements. This is really common that I see. So, this is why so many people say, I react to everything. And it's not in your head. Your system is overloaded and your liver can't filter fast enough. And so your nerves are raw and your nerves aren't getting the nutrients that they need. And your immune system is scanning for danger 24/7. So that doesn't mean that you react forever. It just means you have to be very slow and strategic in your approach, in the whole healing strategy. So reactions aren't the end story, they're just feedback. And when you listen to that feedback, we can tailor the healing path in a way that your body can actually receive. So how do you do? How do we get out of this knot? All right, let's start talking about that. So you can start by removing the burden, lightening the load for the liver. You can pull back on high fat meals. You can eat more fruits in the morning. Hydration is key. Hydration with lemon water, cucumber water, coconut water, and gently bringing in glucose to feed the brain and your nervous system. So, even just one or two of these changes can make a huge difference. And this is where clients usually start, little shifts that begin to shift the pattern. So, in my long COVID recovery guide, I walk you through this step by step if you want the written version to follow. Now, let me take a drink of water. Let's talk about the three biggest mistakes that are stopping long COVID fatigue recovery. And the first one is always complicated for me to talk about, but I'm going to touch on it here. And if you guys have questions, we can talk about it more. But eating the wrong food combinations, fat and sugar eaten together, this is huge. And most people don't realize that even healthy fats like avocado and nuts and coconut milk, when they're eaten with fruit or starchy carbs like potatoes and sweet potatoes and winter squash, can actually slow down liver detox and feed the viral load. I know, pretty crazy, right? That the combinations of foods could do that. So a lot of my clients are out there that come to me. They're eating clean. They're eating whole foods. They've cut out all the processed foods and they're eating really, really well, but they're exhausted until we separate the fats and the starches or the fats and the sugars. So we have to eat fruit like first thing in the morning and then fats later. That's what I found to be most successful, is just to start like have only fruit for breakfast, then for lunch have some fat, and then dinner have some fat, and gradually reduce it. Can you have a breakfast and lunch with no fat and just fat for dinner? And then, first step is lightening the load of fat. And then the next step is trying to actually eat without fat. And it is possible. You can do that and not be hungry. You can satiate your hunger. All right. And then second biggest mistake that I see people making and that they're not recovering from long COVID fatigue is that they're not eating enough glucose and minerals to support the adrenal glands. So people are told to avoid fruit because of the sugar. And it just drives me batty because this is nature's candy. This is what we are supposed to be eating. And it's really tragic when people are telling other people not to have fruit because of the sugar. Because to be honest, your adrenal glands need sugar in order to offset to all that adrenaline that's happening in your body is glucose. That's what puts out the fire. So glucose is the key. So also people are missing the electrolyte minerals, your potassium, your sodium, your trace minerals, and your adrenal glands need these as well in order to stabilize your blood sugar and put out the fire. And so the solution is to start your day. Like lemon water is such a great electrolyte. Lemon water, coconut water, fresh fruit. You can even create these little adrenal snacks where you're combining apple and dates and celery, or dates and banana and romaine lettuce. And these little snacks you could eat all day long to satiate your hunger. You could eat those every couple hours to really balance your blood sugar. All right. And the third biggest mistake stopping people from long COVID fatigue recovery is focusing only on supplements and not doing the viral detox. So many people love to try quick fix supplements. Oh, I heard that this supplement was good. And I've had so many clients come to me, well, what about this supplement and that supplement and that supplement? And yes, supplements are key, but not as a quick fix, right? We want to get to the root cause. We want to get the supplements in that are killing the viruses and supporting the body. All right. Or they'll chase trends, right? Like carnivore, keto, those are definitely trend diets that people find. And they might find some relief, but then later they could be hurting down the road. So by not addressing the viral load at the as the root cause, right, in the liver and the nervous system, then you're just going to get a reverb and you're just not going to heal, or you might heal for a little while, but then you'll bounce back and start getting fatigue again. So overloading the liver with especially when people have mold issues, they're taking a lot of binders, and these binders are depleting their minerals, and maybe taking random herbs. And this can stall your progress, and you don't want to stall your progress. You guys want to get better. So the solution is focusing on consistent daily detox, bringing in your fruits, your vegetables, your healing foods, and gradually supporting that works with your body, not against your body. All right, let's get into supplements, because I do love supplements as they are life-changing for sure. So the top supplements that I recommend for fatigue, the first one is B12, very specifically the methyl and adenosine form. Hydroxy is okay initially, but you really want to get to the point where you can take methyl and adenosine, because this is essential for your nerves, your energy production, and methylation. So are you guys taking B12 out there? Drop me a fire emoji for a yes, and an X emoji for a no. All right, awesome. Oh, wow. I'm just looking at the chat. We have people from New York. Hi, Karen in New York. And hi, Gabrielle from Italy. That's amazing. So exciting to see you guys here. All right. Zinc. Zinc is such an important mineral to calm a overactive or overreactive immune system and help the body fight the viral load. Magnesium glycinate, very specifically glycinate, not citrate, not malate, but glycinate. If you've been watching my videos lately, where I'm on a little bit of a rant about glycine, because it's changing people's lives out there, which is amazing. So magnesium glycinate eases tension and supports restful sleep and your neurotransmitter health. And lysine helps calm the nervous system and reduce the viral load. It actually prevents the virus from replicating when you have the L-lysine in there. Super key. All right, let's jump into some healing foods. Okay, so imagine all this inflammation and stuff going on in your body, right? It creates this oxidative stress. And so you need antioxidants to offset it. And the best food form of antioxidant are wild blueberries. They repair the oxidative stress damage to your body, and they also soothe brain tissue. And I know people are always talking about bromelain or nattokinase. How about papaya? Papaya is loaded with enzymes. They also have lots of potassium and antiviral power. So, but bromelain isn't going to kill the virus, and neither is nattokinase. But papaya will kill the virus and give your body the enzymes that it needs. And then my all-important favorite green drink, celery juice. It it helps restore your hydrochloric acid. It supports your liver, your adrenals. It gets in there. I always describe it as like scrubbing bubbles. That scrubbing bubbles commercial, it gets in there and it cleans out your liver, it cleans out your digestive system, and it really just starts gobbling up viruses and waste in your body. It is amazing. And potatoes. Well, it could be potatoes, sweet potatoes, and winter squash. Those three kind of groups are my favorite. They've got rich in glucose, which is awesome for grounding and for adrenal support. So if you've got a lot of anxiety, definitely be eating your potatoes, sweet potatoes, and winter squash. All right. So here's a tip. You want to create a rhythm of healing. So like fruit in the morning, get to the point where you're eating potatoes and squash middle of the day, and have some healthy fats for dinner. That's the rhythm I like to think about across the day. All right, let's talk about some super important ways to support your nervous system. So in order to help your nervous system, we want to nourish the nerves with the right nutrients, which includes B12, magnesium, and glucose. And these are non-negotiable. They need to be in all day, every day to be healing. Now, on top of that, there are some key nervine herbs that can really help, like lemon balm, passion flower. So if you're having any anxiety or any flares, these can really come in and calm things down. But they do kill viruses. So sometimes, again, you start low, go slow. All right. And then you want to create daily safety signals in the body because when you've got long COVID going on, your body is stuck in this loop of fight or flight. You're just constantly there. And so doing some lifestyle factors can really help calm it down in another way outside of food and supplements. And one thing is, well, just closing your eyes is amazing. It just shuts down, it just shifts your body just almost immediately to close your eyes. Also, breath work. I love to do the 4-7-8 breathing. That I learned that from Andrew Weil. So it's breathing in for 4, holding for 7, and then breathing out for 8. And you can do that once, you can do it for 5 minutes, whatever it takes to get you to get that sense of calm to come over you. Now, also, there's some things you can do that help sort of stimulate the vagus nerve, which again, it can go either way. If you're too sensitive, this might not work, but it might be something that's calming for you. So humming, singing, or gargling kind of stimulates the nervous system, but it also calms it at the same time. Think about it like, when you're trying to calm a baby, right? You're going to hum to it or sing to it. And I cannot stress enough the importance of sunshine. I've got my clients out there that want to go get the red light therapy, and I'm like, just go outside in the sunshine. We live in California. There's lots of sun. Even if you go outside on a non-sunny day, it's 10,000 times brighter than it is inside. And so that sunlight is going to get in your eyes. Ideally, you're going to expose some of your skin to the sun. And in the middle of the day is great because that's when you get the best sun to hit for vitamin D. And you don't have to go out for long. Just like even 5 minutes. Yes, 5 minutes aside if you're lying in the sun is really, really healing. All right. Now, some people, if you're bedbound, this won't work. But if you've got PEM or something, it might not work. But if you can just do gentle movements, it doesn't have to be a lot or extreme, but just moving your body, whether it's walking, rebounding, stretching, and just to get the lymphatic moving, just to get your blood flow moving. All right. And then it's important to check your emotional regulation, right? Because it's easy for what's going on in the body to affect us emotionally and for emotional events in the world to affect us. And so emotional stress can drain our adrenals and our nervous system as much as the physical stress. So it's important to look at the whole picture of the body of what's going on. So one thing I like to do is give some journal prompts. So if you're one of those people that's just like, I got to do this, I got to do that, because that's how we were raised, to be productive, to do this and do that, and you're having trouble slowing down, so this journal prompt can help, is what part of me still feels unsafe to slow down, right? And giving yourself permission to slow down and for safety, to get your body and to feel safe so that it can heal. Meditation, prayer, guided visualizations are great for creating a feeling of safety in your body, because you have to feel safe to heal, right? You can't heal if you're running from the lion. So whatever that visualization is of that you're safe, and just to calm your nervous system, and even creating an image of what you want your life to look like once you're healed. Like, what is it, that thing that you want to do? Do you want to go travel? Do you want to go on a hike? Like, what is it you're going to do when you feel better, so that you could keep that goal in your mind, that thing you're looking forward to? And I know I'm on YouTube, but I have to say this is disconnecting from any media or noise out there that's triggering. There's a lot going on with the politics and the tariffs and the media and all the things. And if you're living in fear, that's not going to serve you. And so you need to just shut the world out, right? Just turn it off, and it'll be okay. But your nervous system really, it thrives in stillness and quiet. So don't be afraid to bring more stillness and quiet into your life. All right. I know that was a lot, but hopefully it gave you some clarity on what's really behind your long COVID fatigue. And I'd love to hear from you. So drop your questions in the chat and I'll answer as many as I can. And anyone who sends me a super chat, I'll answer those first because they'll sail to the top, I believe. Um, yeah, I'll give you guys a minute. See if I can get this back in here. You guys are quiet today. All right. Well, while you're thinking and typing, I want to share a few questions that I've gotten recently from clients and folks in my community because I know many of you might be dealing with the same issues as well. Okay, Fringe has got something. Can you suggest a good way to find what part of me isn't safe? Oh, that's such an awesome question. Um, the way I like to do it is just it's usually when I get triggered by something. So if something triggers you emotionally, then like feel it in your body. Like just close your eyes and where do you feel it in your body, right? Which part of you doesn't feel safe? Maybe I like to think in terms of the chakras, if you're familiar with those, right? And a lot of stuff is in our sacral chakra. Let's see if I can show you on my camera, right? So like right here, so kind of where your ribs are underneath there, that's your solar plexus. There can be stuff there. There can be stuff in your heart. There can be stuff in your sacral, just anywhere along your chakras in your throat. If you have a problem asking questions, in your third eye, on your crown. So that's kind of how I think of it, is where in your body do you not feel safe? And believe it or not, I've actually been using ChatGPT for this kind of thing because I'll feel something emotional and I would say, can you help me walk me through this? Now, he knows me pretty well because we work together a lot, like every day, all day. But, it's been really helpful to just say, hey, can you walk me through how I feel this in my body? And he might prompt you with some questions. So try ChatGPT. All right, Graham. Hi, Graham. Here from Edinburgh, Scotland. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'll let you guys keep thinking about your questions. I'll ask this one. So, one question I get a lot is, why am I crashing after the smallest thing of just doing the dishes or sending an email or getting in an emotional conversation? So, that crash, that delayed wave of exhaustion or symptoms, sometimes it can present as symptoms, is what we call post exertional malaise, or PEM. And it basically means that your body's way of saying that that was too much. But the thing is, it often doesn't hit right away. It can show up hours later or the next day, and it might feel like the flu, a flare up, brain fog, dizziness, body aches, or just some deep whole body fatigue that knocks you flat. And it can last for a day or even a whole week. And it's not a sign that you're weak or that you're out of shape. It's a sign that your nervous system and your immune system are still in high alert and they're still inflamed and they're still like reactive. And so when you ask your body to do more than it can handle in that state, it creates this sort of backlash effect. So with long COVID and any other post viral illness, by the way, the energy system in your body, especially your liver, your brain, your adrenals, and your immune system, just can't bounce back the way it used to. And so it becomes this pacing becomes medicine. So doing less actually helps you heal more. All right, we got a question from Leroy. All right. Leroy says, if you have insulin resistance, how do you get around the sugar hit without a fat to blunt it? Ah, I love this question. Apples send me to 150 with protein. Okay, so let's take that one apart. Okay, so protein, so I learned this too. I learned that combining protein, fat, and fiber was the thing to do. And what I've since found out is that actually can backfire. So, and I'm curious if you would try an apple first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, how you would respond. Like, would the apple still send you up um, into the 150s? Because for me, it was like chicken and sweet potato and Brussels sprouts that sent me to that, like into the 150s, and then the next morning. Um, so I would say, so it's going to take some time, right? It's not a switch. So when you first switch from combining fats and sugars, it's going to take your body a little bit of time to acclimate. And so just give it some time to do that. And so you want to start, like I said, start in the morning, because assuming that the last fat meal you had was dinner, give yourself some time to get it out of your system. So in the morning, if you have fruit by itself with no protein, so fat can be animal protein, nuts and seeds. Almost all fat includes, sorry, almost all protein includes fat. You just can't separate them. So what you want to do is try to have that apple by itself, or even better, have the apple with a little bit of celery. And that way you get a little bit of minerals to balance it. And so you try to do that. And I would do that for like a week or two and see if that shifts things for you. And then when you do eat animal protein, so let's say you have a salad for lunch with chicken. So make sure that there's no sugar in that meal, right? Make sure that there's no grapes or strawberries or anything in that salad. Only have non-starchy vegetables with the animal protein. Same thing for dinner. Have dinner, but then have broccoli or kale or zucchini or asparagus, not any kind of potato or sweet potato or anything with it, right? That way, if you're just having fruit first thing in the morning, your body should, if there's no fat, should be able to digest that in about an hour. And then if you're hungry an hour later, you could start incorporating fat without a problem. Does that make sense? But then if you have fat for lunch, you'd have to wait like 3 or 4 hours before you would have an apple per se. Does that answer your question? Let me know. Okay. Graham says he has daily brain fog and mild lightheadedness, and he suffers from PEM if he overdoes it. Great thing that you noticed. Very recently started trying more of your thoughts, celery juice, etc. Awesome. And I'd love to hear how it's going, Graham. Okay, and that answered the question for Leroy. Awesome. All right, let's see if we get some more questions for you. This is a really good question. How long does long COVID fatigue usually last? Okay, so, and my honest answer is it depends. And it depends on how long you've been dealing with symptoms and how deep the viral and toxic load is in your body. And it also depends on how ready and able you are to really commit to the healing process, because it means removing certain foods. And that's kind of hard. There's a lot of emotion behind removing certain foods. People are like, I cannot live without my pizza. And then I'm like, it's going to be really hard to heal without your pizza. And it might be slow. It might slow down your recovery. It might be bringing in more healing foods and hydration and opening and being open to the right supplements. So that can support your nervous system, your liver, and your immune system. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to do it all at once, but the more consistently that you can support your body, the faster you can start to rebuild. And I've seen people make shifts in a matter of weeks, right? And for others, it can be a 6-12 month journey. Everybody's body is different. The length of time you've been suffering is different. And even if you say you were perfectly healthy before you got COVID. If you look back, you probably will find signs and symptoms that little clues that you weren't as healthy as you would have liked to think. It's just that you didn't have you hit the wall when you got long COVID. All right. Graham says very early days on celery juice definitely seems to give immediate brain lift, freshness. Yes. And that's exactly what you need for brain fog, Graham, is that you need that constant. I always think of it like a drip, like orange juice, cucumber juice, celery juice, just constant electrolytes all day long. And the liquid form is great. Like you can still eat food, but having the liquids with it, it just gets into your system faster. It's like being in an IV drip, and your body's going to be able to suck it up and use it easier and faster. Okay, awesome. Fringe says swapping in fruit instead of processed sugar has been huge. That's excellent. I'm really glad you made that observation. Yeah, fruit is amazing because it's so healing. It has all the minerals and nutrients your body needs to digest it, and it's antiviral and antibacterial. So it like serves so many purposes. All right. Let's talk about some more questions. How are we doing time wise? Good. Yes, Graham. Been taught to almost avoid orange juice for sugar spike. Yep, I was too, and that one's been around for a long time. But again, it you don't want to have orange juice with your bacon and eggs, right? You want to have orange juice by itself, like away from. I mean, you could have it with fruit, right? You can fresh squeezed orange juice is amazing, right? Especially if you don't pasteurize it and you squeeze it straight from the orange. It's so full of nutrients. But yeah, it says again, it goes back to that sugar fat combination. Even when people talk about carbs, right? They're talking about, okay, is a cookie isn't just sugar, right? It's flour and sugar, and then it's eggs and butter, right? It's the combination. So if you think about every cake, every candy, even candies, gummies, worms, like anything, jelly beans, those all have a combination of sugar and fat in it. And that's the thing that's addictive. You go down the chip aisle, it's always a combination of fat and sugar, and it's very addictive too. So just having that awareness can be really helpful. Yes, Graham, so many conflicting theories out there. Yes, it is. And this is where I really want you guys to use your own to think critically, to think beyond that and think what feels good in my body, right? So, like, have a glass of orange juice first thing in the morning on empty stomach. Again, this might be new for you, so it might give you. It always sort of made me feel sort of funny in my tummy at first, but it wasn't a bad feeling. I think it was just something my body was getting used to. So, just experiment with things and be a critical thinker and just say, does this feel right? Does this sound right? That we would grow an orange on a tree as humans and not be able to eat it. You know, that doesn't make sense. That why that is that way. If you're eating Sunny Delight, which isn't really orange juice, that's a whole nother thing. Okay, Fringe says, is electrolyte from dissolvable supplements any use or just expensive? Thinking, so trying. Such a great question. The problem with most electrolytes that I've seen is that they either have citric acid or something for flavoring. Most any supplements that are gummy, that are powders, that are chewable, are going to have citric acid, natural flavors. And the problem with that is, thanks to our FDA, anything can be on that label. Like that label can say natural flavors, and it can be 10 or 20 toxic ingredients that you just don't even know what's in there. So I always say avoid natural flavors because that can be disguised MSG, which is activating for the brain, overstimulating. So that's one thing I don't like about electrolytes. The other thing is that if you use the one like LMNT, there is no sugar in it. And even when I was working for a naturopath recently, she wanted to develop her own electrolyte that didn't have any sugar in it. And that's sort of defeating the whole purpose. Because again, people aren't understanding that in order to get the sugar into the cell, it's insulin that opens the door. So you need that sugar to get the minerals into the cell. So people aren't realizing this. And it just goes back to basic biology, chemistry, right? That you need those things in. So that's a great question. So yeah, so my favorite electrolytes fringe are nature's coconut water, lemon water, cucumber juice, celery juice, even alternating orange juice and celery juice, orange juice and cucumber juice, not necessarily taking them together, letting them absorb separately. Okay. How do you feel about drinks that have kale, spinach, oxalate content? Oh, I love this question, Graham. You're tapping on all my questions, on all my spots that I've figured out. I love green drinks. I love juicing. You can do combinations of juices out there. It just has a different purpose than straight celery juice, but green juices are amazing and they're helpful. So here's what, let me see if I can summarize this quickly about oxalates. So I'll just tell you the story. I'm going to talk about this in an upcoming video, but I'll talk about it here. So for 7 years, I thought I had an oxalate problem because I was in this group, this study group of my functional nutrition colleagues. And I was talking about how one day my blood sugar went from, again, when I ate the chicken, Brussels sprouts, and sweet potato, and my blood sugar went up to 154 that night when I went to bed, and the next morning was still 129. And they said, "Oh my God, it must be the potatoes, the sweet potatoes." And I believed them. I thought, "Oh my God, I have a problem with oxalates, a sweet potato." No, it was the food combining. So when you have oxalate symptoms, what's really behind symptoms that they call oxalate symptoms. So if you eat something and you feel a symptom of a healing food like nuts, or so it could either be food combining or it could be the pathogen itself. Because when you eat healing foods, you're killing them and sometimes they give off a poison, right? And so that can be confused with oxalates. The other thing, so I'm actually in part of the Trying Low Oxalates group on Facebook. And I've been in there for years because for 7 years, I thought I was had an oxalate problem. And then one day I was like, I'm going to try celery juice. And I did. And I felt better. And so I was like, okay, this is the answer. This makes so much more sense. So yeah, that's my short story on oxalates, but I will try to do more stuff in the beginning because more and more people are talking about oxalates and the poisons of oxalates, and it's not. It's either they're healing foods that are triggering a poison or it's the food combining. So Graham says, started hearing about oxalates and thought may need to avoid kale and spinach. Yep, I avoided spinach for 7 years and I added it back in, and my body is so thankful. When I was a kid, I loved spinach. And I also had a history of kidney stones. So that's why I also thought I had an oxalate problem. And even when I went to the doctor and they're like, you need to stop eating spinach. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would I stop eating spinach? That doesn't make sense. It's a healing food. So when you understand, Graham, the underlying root cause of what's causing the symptoms is the pathogens and the toxins, and then you understand their behavior, then oxalates kind of fall away. At least I feel it does. But if that doesn't answer your question on oxalates, just let me know and I will, because I'm always trying to find ways to describe these things in a way that makes sense for you guys. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let me talk about another question that I hear people say a lot. They'll say that my labs are normal, but why do I still feel awful? And I get it. It can feel very invalidating. Like no one's like, nope, you're fine. I don't know what's wrong with you, but it's not true, right? The truth is that conventional labs are missing what's really going on, right? And when it comes to viral neurological issues, liver-based fatigue, they're designed to look for disease. They're not looking for dysfunction. And in functional medicine, we look for dysfunction. And so when I look through the lens of functional medicine, I'm using a different range. I'm looking for what is optimal, not just what is technically within the range. So that means I might see things that look fine on paper, but are actually signs that your body is struggling, especially when things like liver burden, viral reactivation, and sluggish detox, or nervous system stress. So, if you've been told that everything is normal, but you know deep down that it's not, trust yourself, trust your inner knowing, trust your body. You know, your body's symptoms are real and they're messages, not mistakes. All right. Okay, Fringe is asking, why does acid reflux or indigestion flare after solid meat? Red meat, bacon, pork, but not. Wait, red meat, bacon, pork, but not? Oh, not chicken or fish. Such a great question. That's a great question. Okay. So what's happening? So usually what's happening in the environment of long COVID, time you have acid reflux, that's a hint of two things. One is that you're not producing enough stomach acid, that your stomach is low. And this is part of what the viruses do. They start messing, there's the viruses and the bacteria, different bacteria. They start messing with your ability to produce bile in the liver. And so if you can't produce bile, it kind of is, I think there's a feedback mechanism that happens between your liver and your stomach. And it says, hey, don't make any stomach acid because I don't have any bile here to go with it. So it's usually a combination of the two. You don't have enough stomach acid, you don't have enough bile. So imagine red meat. So red meat isn't always bad, but sometimes people find it to be richer, or maybe they can tolerate, like you said, chicken or fish, but they can't tolerate red meat. So red meat, again, I feel like you can eat periodically, but in this scenario, maybe you can't. Maybe it's better to lay off of it completely for a while. But fats like lamb and bacon and pork are much higher in fat. So the more high fat foods you have, the more demand you need for bile. And so when you don't have that bile, then your body's, I don't know how to directly explain it to acid reflux, but it's like you don't have enough bile or stomach acid. And so why it rises and starts coming up your esophagus that has to do with the little flap, the flap stomach isn't tight, right? So when your stomach acid is really robust, I think physically it keeps that flap down. And so I think when the higher the fat meal, that flap just comes up, right? And this allows more acid to come up through your esophagus. Okay, Graham is asking, so you would almost recommend kale and spinach and not discourage? Yes, definitely recommend kale and spinach, and I would not discourage it, no. This is one that might be good with animal protein, but again, you might want to stay away from, as French said, stay away from pork or lamb, and maybe you want to stick with chicken or fish, which are just lighter meals. Or you can eat them by themselves in a salad too. That's totally fine. Or I love to make a big old spinach soup. I blend it up in the blender with some tomatoes, and it's just delicious. Okay, Leroy says, hamburger at dinner time is a problem for me. I notice after COVID. Okay. Yeah. And the question is how much hamburger, like how much fat is in your hamburger? Because here in the US, there's more, I think you're in the US. You can buy a high fat hamburger or a more lean hamburger. Have you tried like a leaner burger? And the other thing is that ground beef is more histamine producing than like a chicken or spinach or chicken or fish. No, fish is more high histamine. Sorry. Chicken might be better because of the histamine as well. So again, going back to the red meat question, Fringe, is it ground beef or is it a solid piece of meat? Because again, ground beef can have more histamines in it because of they process it and then it can create more histamine in the meat itself. Okay, Graham says, I am been taking many supplements, but specifically for liver, sun cut. I think I need my glasses. Sun cut and oral liposomal glutathione and activated NAC and milk thistle. Many supplements, especially her liver. Yeah, that's great. I don't know what Suncut is, and but liposomal glutathione can be good. The only thing I worry about liposomal, or there's a couple things I worry about liposomal, is it soy based, and the other question is there alcohol in it? Um, and by activated NAC, do you just mean NAC, or is there different activated NAC? And milk thistle, those are all great for the liver, for sure. Yeah, and the liver needs a lot of support. You almost need, like, it's going back to what I was talking about. It's not just the supplements, but also putting in the things like to detox the liver, like spirulina, wild blueberries, bananas, barley grass, juice powder, and dulse to really clean out the liver. Okay, Leroy, you're saying 23/7. Okay, that's pretty lean grass-fed meat. So I would just say it could be the histamine kicking up in the hamburger itself, because I'm curious if you ate I always get curious and want to do trials, but if you did like a grass-fed beef, like a steak, like a ribeye or a sirloin, that was the same portion of fat, would it cause as much discomfort for you? In which case, I would guess that it might be the histamines in the hamburger. Okay. Let's see what other questions I can answer. We got a few more minutes left. Okay, one question I get sometimes is, what do you think about adaptogens and energy boosting supplements? So we definitely don't want any energy boosting supplements. Actually, I had a client recently he was doing so much better, but then he got the pressure of work and there was a layoff and he didn't get a good review. And so he started trying to, because he didn't get a good review, he was worried about his job, and so he's worried about his performance, and he's worried about his brain because he's had a lot of brain fog, and so he started taking those 5-hour energy drinks to give him the caffeine that he needs to turn on his brain, and that was causing problems. Now, adaptogens, they're not bad. Adaptogens are really good. I like ashwagandha. I like rhodiola. Those are my favorite. And again, it just helps balance out the adrenals a little bit, right? Just gives it some support that you need. You still need to do the things of removing the stress and removing the fat, because remember, a high fat meal, I've talked about this in some of my videos, but high fat meals drive adrenaline. And so you'd want to dampen the adrenaline so that it's trying to get the blood to be thinner so it can get into the brain. And so you want to, by removing the fat, you're also removing a bit of the adrenaline drive. All right. Graham says, find some help with brain fog and nasal NAD. Oh, subcutaneous glutathione. Oh, is that what you mean by activated? No, that's different. Nasal NAD, subcutaneous glutathione. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it. And I'd be curious. I don't know if you saw my video on glycine, but glycine, glutathione, and NAC are the three things that help make glutathione in your body. And so NAC is one used a lot because usually people have enough glutamine, but that's what I'm finding is when you're sick, you probably need more glutamine and glycine as well as NAC to build glutathione. All right. Fringe says solid steak or pork chops are a problem for him. Yeah. And it could be pork chops. I don't think pork chops are the fattiest part. It's usually pretty lean, but yeah, I would say just stay away from them as much as you can. If you can. I have a client, same client actually, who was saying he just sort of losing his taste for meat actually. So that was kind of interesting because we've been putting in so many fruits and vegetables that, and all the supplements and getting him feeling better, that he actually is like, he doesn't crave the fat, the meat like he used to. Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with the activated NACs, Graham, so you'll have to share those with me. Leroy says, red meat at dinner has been hard. Steak, hamburger, no difference. Takes a long time to digest. Some acid reflux, 7 hours afterwards. Sleep is terrible. Yeah. So, Leroy, have you put in celery juice? I would definitely say put in celery juice, and you almost think about things that affect your I like to think about everything across the whole day, not just what you do at dinner. But yeah, the way my sleep started getting better when I started going fat-free at dinner, believe it or not. And when I took out any kind of animal protein or any kind of fat. If I went completely fat-free, like I'll make like a black bean chili with no fat in it whatsoever, and I will sleep like a dream. And I use the carbs, use the potatoes, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, things like that, that you can make a really good glucose rich meal because it will satiate your hunger without fat. And then you will sleep like a dream. And it might not be a switch, right? It might take some time, but that sounds like your liver needs a lot of support, Leroy. Yeah, so the celery juice will start building up your stomach acid, and it'll start repairing the bile flow in the liver as well. So doing that, and if you aren't already doing 2 cups a day, that's a good place to start. And if you're already doing 2 cups and you can go up higher, you could do 4 cups in a day. And you could do like a little bit in the morning, a little bit like in the afternoon, or you can just keep cranking them both up. Fringe says nighttime sweats are a big problem for me. Oh, is that brain induced? Actually, night sweats, it's so funny because historically this was a woman's issue. Night sweats was a hormonal issue, but I've seen it so much in men that it's not. It's actually tied to toxins in the body. And so this is why that morning routine that I describe in the long COVID recovery guide is so helpful, because you just like lemon water is like your pre-flush. You got your celery juice, middle of the flush, and then you bring in the wild blueberry smoothie with all the spirulina and the detox things. Though that mix every morning consistently will start getting rid of your night sweats for sure. And then just reducing fat overall so that your liver has a break for sure. And then, you could also try to reduce the fat overall, but then also reducing, especially for dinner. All right. I think if you guys have any more questions, I will take one more question, but otherwise, I think we're good here. All right. Okay, Graham says, was generally trying intermittent fasting and trying to lose a bit of weight on low carb. So efficiently seeing, get my glasses on, was generally trying intermittent fasting, trying to lose weight, a bit of weight and low carb. So effectively seems like I'm going wrong route for healing, as you would suggest. Yes, this is correct. So again, fasting, when you don't eat and your body needs energy, it's going to bring more adrenaline. And then the problem with that is then your liver is left to break down that adrenaline and get it out of your system. So you're definitely going to want to not do intermittent fasting, but instead to do the opposite, right? So if you suspect a lot of adrenal stuff, a lot of fight or flight nervous system stuff, you want to bring in those adrenal snacks like every 2 hours. Or it can even be a juices, right? Bringing in more of those celery juice, cucumber juice, orange juice, fruit juices, watermelon juice is amazing. And bringing those in every couple of hours to help support your body and not doing the fasting. And then, not low carb, because that's part of the problem why you have the fatigue is because your body is dying for glucose. It really wants the glucose. So amazing. Okay. Oh, Daisy. Sure, Daisy. I'd be happy to book a one-on-one with me. That would be amazing. If it's not already in the description, I'll check the description after this for the link to book a one-on-one with me. Thanks for asking. So DJ Mountains, I love this. Does high dose vitamin D3 with K2 and magnesium help? It's so funny. I actually had a discovery call with a guy who said he took high dose vitamin D and he felt better. Here's my concern with that is that when people measure their vitamin D levels and they're low, it's actually not, it's an issue of more of their liver than their actual vitamin D. Usually their vitamin D is fine. There are 2 different tests for vitamin D. They only test one, they don't test both. But My point is magnesium definitely helps, but I wouldn't go high dose with D because it is toxic in high doses because it's fat soluble. So what happens is your liver is going to start dumping it out. So it actually could be counterproductive. Like you might feel really good for a second, but then it could be cause implications down the line because he starts dumping the vitamin D, and then it can't get it back because you've got this stuffed liver. All right, my favorite heavy, this is the last question I'm going to take, and then we're going to close it out here. Graham's asking, what's your favorite heavy metal detox? And that's everything in the long COVID recovery guide. It's the spirulina, barley grass juice, dulse, cilantro, amazing. Cilantro goes really, really deep into your tissues. Dulse is really amazing for getting rid of mercury specifically. But spirulina and barley grass juice, they all work together to sort of nutrify and bind. They kind of do it all. And so that's why I think it's just amazing. So awesome. Well, this was so much fun, you guys. I definitely want to do this again. I'd like to do this every month. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.